Hey out there for everyone. I hope everyone's doing well into 2025. I'm doing this video to help educate people about what's available in a smart home in 2025. Do you suffer from the same problems that many people have, which is the proliferation of apps in order to get the best from your house? And what I mean by apps is an app for maybe your smart speakers. Perhaps you have Sonos or you have Bose or something like that. You need an app for that. Then you need an app if you've got smart bulbs around your house. You might need an app from Philips to do that if you've got Hue lighting as an example. You might have LED lights around your house from another manufacturer, therefore another app that you need to have on your phone. If you've got Spotify, there's another app. You get the picture. Many different apps that you have available to you that you have to install on your phone, your tablet, or your computer in order to control things in your household. Well, what happens if I could tell you that you could do everything in a single app? And what you're seeing on screen just now is that single app. This is something I have used that's available in the marketplace, but I have completely automated and customized my experience for my household and the people who live in my household. So what you can see here on screen is a range of different options, menu items at the top. This is the home page. This gives you all of your sort of key important information that you might want to see on a regular basis, where your family members are, the status of the rooms in your house, if you've got doors in those rooms to the outside of your property. And you can then go into each one of these menus and actually do something within your household. Now, just to break it down, what you see on screen here is that you've got, in this home page, you've got family status, you've got your floors within your property and perhaps outdoors as well. And you can see at the moment in the family setting, I've got 3 people in the household. Myself, which is Junior on the right hand side. I have my mum and my father both in here as well. And you can see at the moment there is 3 little cards that are shown on the screen just now. And those cards are giving you statuses of where those individuals are based on their mobile devices. Now you can control the ability to have visibility of those people, or you can turn it off if you want. That can be concerning for a lot of people, but in our household we want to know where people are, and we have automations in this household that are determined based on, is people at home and are they away from the household. So I have a status here that I've built with customized presentation of what you're seeing to show you the status of each of those people. So at the moment it's green across the board, as you can see by the border that goes round that item. So you can see green status for me, green status for my mum, and green status for my father. If those individuals were not at home, that status would change to a amber colour, which would indicate them being away, and that would give you a visual indicator of where they are and when they're not there. So it's a way of being able to customize your family setting. Underneath that, you can see the ground floor, the first floor, and the outdoors. And these are shortcuts that take you to particular rooms themselves to control those rooms and what are existing in those rooms. Contact sensors to check the status of doors, temperature sensors, presence sensors, controlling the lamps in the room, controlling your speakers for smart speakers to play music. All of those can be controlled by each of these sub-menus. And you'll see here that the little icons next to each one of these rooms, some of them are grey and some of them are green or a different colour depending on the status. And why are they green and not another colour? So I've chosen green as being the safe option to say that everything is okay. And the green icon, and why some of them are green and some of them are grey, is because within each of those rooms that you see on the screen, those rooms have externally facing doors that can access the property. So I've chosen to determine if the room is safe by whether or not those doors are open or closed. If they are open, those icons would turn red. If the doors are closed, then they're green. So it gives you a visual indicator of, am I safe? Is my property safe? Up at the top of the menu, you can see today's date and the time. So I'm in the UK, and this is the way that our formatting works in the UK, but you can customize this to where you are in the world. So if you were in North America, you might have the day of the week, or the day of the week after the date. But in the UK, we chose to go with the day of the week, the day itself within the month, the year, and then, as North Americans would know, this is military time, but this is 24-hour time on the right-hand side. Above that menu item is a master set of icons, and that is for things that are specific to this property that are across the board. So we'll go through that just now. So what you see is that we're on the home page at the moment, which is the top left icon. If we then click into the lighting page, you can see this is a lighting page that's specific to this property as well. So what you can see is I have what's called presence sensors in this property. Now the presence sensors determine whether or not someone's actually is able to pick up whether or not someone's actually sitting in a room completely still by measuring the it's basically a sensor that can detect whether or not someone's breathing in a room, and it can determine the present state of that room. And I have two presence sensors in the property, one in our main lounge and one in the kitchen. And those are the two places where a lot of people will spend a lot of their time. So I have a status where I have grouped those sensors together, and those sensors will determine whether or not someone is in the property and sitting within those rooms. And you can see underneath that presence state is we have the last updated. So that was the last time the sensor noticed that someone came in and sat down or left, etc., the rooms that are being monitored. So it shows you the last time that someone was actually moved or did something. Now you'll see the status has got a list of 3 people in that area. That just happens to be how many people are in this household, but that is just an icon, a standard icon. But if there was no status detected, that would change to a green icon with an X scored through it. So it would say that there's no people detected. It would be clear. Underneath that, you can see I've got some overrides. So evening lights, and it actually tells you what this button will do if you click on it or you double click on it. So if you were to click on it, it'll turn the lights on. If you were to double tap it, it'll turn the lights off. Now that's the ability that perhaps within the day, you might want the lights to come on slightly earlier than they normally would based on a criteria, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So you can override when the lights will automatically turn on by single clicking that button. Now in this household, we have the ability in this automation system to determine where our home location is in the world. And by that information, the system can then tell when sunset is, sunrise, dawn, dusk, solar noon and solar midnight is just by looking at that location in the world. And I've got an automation set up with a number of lights in the property, in the lounge, the kitchen, outdoors, etc., to come on 20 minutes before sunset. So the system will automatically turn the lights on 20 minutes before sunset. It will then turn off the lights at night time after there is no presence detected in the kitchen or the lounge after 12 minutes. And 12 minutes seems to be a happy medium. That allows people to perhaps go to the toilet, have a little bit of time to do that, come back, or alternatively, they might be, out in a room that's not got a presence sensor in it, and then to come back into the room in an appropriate amount of time. If, however, all family members were to be away from the property, you obviously wouldn't want the presence sensors showing as clear, and therefore the lights going off after 12 minutes after they've gone on. So I've got another automation in place that determines if there's nobody in the house, it switches from presence-based turn off to a timed based turn off, so it would turn off at 11 o'clock at night by default. So that gives you the control and flexibility to determine when the lights go off, whether there's people in the household, therefore it's based on presence, versus if there's nobody in the household, it will go off at 11 p.m. at night. And then underneath that, you can see that there's a whole bunch of options available. So the floor, and we've got the ground floor lights here, so we can see hallway, staircase LED, we can see the lounge and the lights under the lounge, we can see kitchen, dining room, utility and outdoor lights. And if I click on the first icon, it will switch to the first floor. And then if I switch to the loft, I've got the options there. So I can control all the lights in every single room by flicking through this menu. Now, if I scroll down here, I can control the lights brightness by moving these wee sliders from left to right. So if I move that slider there, the light gets darker. If I move the slider to the right, the light gets brighter. I've also got the ability here to control the temperature of the light if it supports it, and the colour of the light if it supports it. Now you can click on either one of these options to adjust the temperature or to adjust the colour, but you can also click and hold on this option here and it pops up a little menu, and again you've got the ability to control some predefined settings and colours, the brightness, the colour temperature, and a colour picker to determine if you want to change the colour in the room. And that could be quite snazzy for different themes throughout your year. Maybe St. Patrick's Day, you might want it green. Christmas time could be red, gold, etc. So you could get quite snazzy. Maybe even in Halloween, you get this kind of orange colour as well. So you can make up some really fancy effects. So that's the menu there for each of the lights across the property. If we then slide into the security option here, the cameras, this will actually show you cameras that are across the property. So I've got 2 doorbell cameras, one at my front door, one at the back door, and you can see visually here, this is the live view of what those cameras are actually seeing at the moment. I'm not going to show you the inside because I've got 2 cameras, one in the inside of the property, and I don't want to do that from a privacy perspective, but it's the same sort of menu. If I was to flick from doorbells to inside, you would then see the 2 cameras that I have on inside, and those indoor cameras monitor entry points into the household and will alert me accordingly if someone was attempting to break into the property. I've then got a security area. So this is the home security system that I have. And again, I have built this using all of this smart technology. So this is built with contact sensors, it's built with motion sensors throughout the property. They're all linked into a system, and that is linked to the lights on the outside of the property and linked to the smart speakers that are around the property. So if the alarm goes off, the lights will flash on the outside of the property and it will play a very loud, audible noise for 30 minutes on the inside of the property, which is the allowed legal limit for burglar alarms in the UK. So that gives you the indication to neighbours that something's wrong. They could inform you by phoning you, but I also have notifications that will be triggered that are sent to mobile devices in the household that allow the person to remote turn off the alarm system if appropriate. Now you can see here I have 3 groups of sensors. So I've got contact sensors, these are the doors that are in the property and the status of them at the moment. So they're coloured accordingly, so green being good, i.e. closed. If the door was to be opened, this would change to red, so you've got a visual indicator of what's actually happening. If I go to motion, it's again the same sort of thing here. And then presence, you can see the presence sensors are not green, they are amber, and they're showing that there's people sitting in the kitchen and in the lounge as well. So Allows you to move through and just check various statuses of things across the board. If I then go to the smart speaker control, this is where I can control the smart speakers around the property. So I've got the ability to go in and look at different speakers that might exist. I have Sonos throughout the property, so I've got it in the lounge, the kitchen, the guest bedroom, and I have a portable Sonos Move device that I can move from room to room as appropriate. I've got the ability to group speakers together, so again the same kind of functionality you've got within the Sonos app. You can group speakers together and play music across all of them. I've got the ability to look at favourites that I might have created. So these are 2 radio stations and then 2 Spotify playlists, favourite music and movie music. And when you play one of those, you have then the ability under the last icon on the right here to look at the queue of the speaker that you're looking at. So in this case, if I was looking at the lounge and something was playing, I would get the list of every item that's in here. I'm not showing that just now because that could be problematic for copyright. So I can show in other areas in future. But in the short term, I've got the ability to fully control all of the media and the speakers here. Next one along is the little plug, orange plug. This is the power monitoring within the household. So you can see at the moment here, I've got some basic information. So I've got the grid rate, the grid power, the peak and off-peak energy, the latest charging session and the EV energy used today, the total energy and the total cost, and then a breakdown at the bottom of kilowatt hours of energy that's going through this property. So at the moment we're in peak and we're pulling 461 watts roughly from the grid. So it's in red because we're in the peak sense, and then if this goes to off peak, that would switch to a green option and it would change the text from peak to off peak. I've created an automation to move the energy between these 2 bands depending on when that's triggered by the grid and by our electricity provider. Now, because I have an EV in the household, I actually got 2 EVs in the household, both of those can use off-peak energy to charge up. So we use a product in the UK from a company called Octopus, called Intelligent Octopus Go, to charge our EV cars for 6 hours a night for 7 pence per kilowatt hour, which is very, very cheap indeed to run your car. So this is just a way of being able to see things flowing through your household and how much it actually costs. And again, if you're really interested in this, I can do a little bit of a video on this, on the capability of this particular thing and how this is built. Last but not least is the final piece here, which is a general information page that's got broad information from various places. So I've got a waste and recycling calendar, so I know exactly what bin I need to take out today. Today was a garden waste, so that's a brown lidded bin. I have other bins that have different colours, and again I can see those as appropriate. I've got the sun clock, so I can see when it's the dawn, sunrise, solar noon, dusk, sunset and solar midnight. I can see that information here and make some determinations. I've got local weather telling me what's going on, and if I click on the local weather itself, it pops up a little window and it gives me more information about the current forecast and everything else. I've then got the ability down the bottom to see the EV info. So I've got 2 EVs in this household, a Hyundai Ioniq 6, or Hyundai is the probably correct pronunciation, and a Kia EV6. And I can actually look at both of these devices and see information from both of them. So we can see Ioniq 6 has got 73%, I've done 64 miles today, and I can see various pieces of information. And then I can look over here and look at Kia EV6, 76% battery left, nearly 200 miles, 40 miles done in the car today. So this is the main menus. If we go back to the home page, if I then click into the kitchen or the lounge or the dining, etc., I can click into that room itself and I can see information more specific to the room. So I can see the media player at the bottom for the Sonos speaker that's in there. I can control the lamp that's in there. I can see the statuses of the motion sensor, the contact sensor, and the presence sensor in the room. So you can see the back door and the side door are closed, the motion sensor is clear, and motion sensors and presence sensors are two different things. So motion sensors are the little things that you normally see in your house at the corner of the room, at the top corner. That's a motion sensor, and it will only pick you up if you physically get up and go somewhere. What that's not good for detecting is someone sitting still, sitting maybe watching the TV. It's not sensitive enough to pick that up. Whereas a presence sensor is sensitive enough to detect if someone's in the room or multiple people in the room and do specific actions based on that. So you can see there the motion sensor's clear, but the presence sensor's picking the fact that I'm sitting in that room. So each of the rooms has got its own distinct page. So if I go here, you can see the lounge looks a little bit different. So the lounge has got a single entry door, it's got to the garden, it's got a motion sensor and presence sensor, it's got temperature and humidity sensors. So if I click on the temperature sensor, I can see the variation of temperature that's flowing through the room, and the same for humidity as well. I've got the ability to look at historical information. I've got the ability to control the lights in the room and the media player that's shown in that room as well. If I then was to click, again, the front lamp here, click and hold it, I can turn it on and off, so I can click it on. And then if I was to click and hold, I can open up the page to do the fancy things to the light, like controlling the temperature, the brightness, and the colour. So again, very similar to the main lighting page. Is the ability to do that. If I look in the other rooms in the house, for example, if I go to the garage at the bottom, I've got the ability here to see I've got an entry door into the garage at the back of the garage, and then I have this button here that does something quite fancy. So what you can see is if I click on this button, what will happen is a little pop-up will appear, and it will actually show me my garage door opening from my rear doorbell camera. And that just gives you a visual indicator that something is going on. So if I click on this just now, what you'll see eventually, after a few seconds, is I get a little pop-up that appears, and the garage door will actually go through the process of opening and closing. So I get a visual indicator of something's happening, and I can see that's happening just by looking at this. I've got a timer bar at the top. It's actually going through the process of opening and closing that door. And once it's open, I get the status red showing that the garage is actually open. Now, if I was to go back to the home page and look at the bottom, you'll see the garage has changed from green to red to show that it's actually open. And if I go to my security page, you can see the contact sensor for the garage door is showing it as being open as well. So again, lots and lots of information that help me understand statuses of things that are going on. So if I go back to the home page and go back to the garage and then click it again, single tap to close. If I click it again, a little pop-up will appear again, and this time I'll see the garage door closing. So you can see visually when I click it, I know that it's closing, I know that it's opening, and I can control this from here. And this is something I've created. This garage door has an automatic opener that used to be controlled on a little remote control, but it was really inflexible because you had to carry that remote control around with you all the time if you wanted to open and close the door. So this way, I've got full control of it anywhere in the world from this mobile app, completely secure, and it's got some stipulations to when the garage door can be opened or closed. So I have a rule set up that has to be that people are in the house, i.e. family members, and it can only be opened between a certain time in the morning and up to a certain time at night time. Beyond those times, the door cannot be actuated at all. And that just gives you a little bit of peace of mind that it's only going to be available when someone's actually in the household and can hear whether it's opened or closed. So that's a really good way of doing things. You can bring a lot of that together Now you've got a whole bunch of different options available to you in a household to do smart things with. For example, if someone presses the front doorbell on this property, I have a mobile phone here. I've got tablets both on the ground floor and the first floor of the property that are wall mounted. And I have little screens in key rooms around the house. And if the doorbell is pressed, it interrupts anything that's going on in any of those devices, if there's anyone using those devices at any time. And if there's any audio getting played on Sonos, for example, it pauses the audio on Sonos. It plays the doorbell noise, and we have two different noises, one for the back door, one for the front door. But if you press the doorbell, it pauses Sonos, it plays the doorbell sound through the Sonos speakers, and it captures the information coming from the smart doorbell, and it actually presents that information on the panels, i.e. as an image, so you can actually see who's at the door and maybe determine whether or not you want to answer the door before you actually turn up at it. So it's a really good way of controlling what's going on in your household and when things happen at your household as well, to make it as flexible as possible to your needs. But if I come back to the final points in this video, and what I wanted to demonstrate is, this is one single app that I have been working with for the last 2 years and teaching myself this product to help people understand how to use this technology, but bridging all of these other disparate apps that you might have to have on your mobile phone to control your household with. You can do all of this in a single interface that can be controlled and designed and laid out to your needs and how you want to use your house. And by doing this video and getting people interested in it, I can help you on that journey. Now, as an individual, I can do this in a capacity of helping you professionally if you're not technology savvy, or if you're technology savvy, I can help educate you through this process to help you have something similar, so that you don't have to have the same kind of steep learning curve I've had to endure over the last few years in order to get something like this together. But if you would like to join me on this will be a video series upcoming on my new YouTube channel, which is Sotomo Talks Tech. I have two other YouTube channels, one which is called Sotomo The Accidental Gardener, and then I've also got Sotomo Does DIY. And these are two individual channels apart from this one, where it's more specific to other things I enjoy doing, which is DIY and gardening. But this is more about technology, about learning technology, making technology accessible to anyone of any age, and showing you what the art of the possible is. So hopefully you'll join me on that journey, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.